Hey everyone, this is Lynn Wilson from Lynn Wilson Originals, and I'm coming to you live today from Mills River, North Carolina, where I'm working on painting some buffalo plaid. This is the piece that I'm working on right here, and so far the steps that I've taken, it was pretty slick. It was one of those honey oak colored pieces, and the varnish on it was really slick. So I had an option of either sanding it back some or using Slik stick. And sometimes when I sand, I find that I get bleed through. So I use Slik stick, which this is what it looks like. It's a Dixie Belle product. Slik stick, there we go. And you put a coat on, let it dry, put a second coat on, and let it dry overnight. And it really did just take off all that slick varnish so my paint could stick. So I've painted this in a base coat of fluff. This is fluff. And I have not used fluff before. I usually end up using drop cloth, which is Dixie Belle's white with a tan undertone, or fluff, which is their white with a gray undertone. And this is really truly pure white, and I wanted that because I'm doing the buffalo plaid. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with buffalo plaid, but it's generally, you know, white, black, and gray, or maybe you'll see red and black. But you know, it's popular this time of year around the holidays, and so I've been seeing more of it and thought, I'm going to try to paint that. So far what I've done, let me see if I can pull this down a little bit. The gray stripes here are in manatee gray. I'm sorry, which gray is this? Driftwood. And so when I'm painting, I'm going from lightest to darkest. So I've done the fluff, and I've done driftwood, and the next color I'm going to use is manatee gray, and then I'll use midnight sky. So you can kind of see this is driftwood. It's kind of got some gray undertones, some brown undertones, and then so this is manatee. So in comparison, this is what the two grays look like. And then this is midnight sky, and it is it's a blackish navy charcoal, and so that will be my darkest color in the plaid. So the first thing I did was the vertical stripes, and so I laid my painter's tape. Every place where you see white is where I had my painter's tape, and then I painted the spaces in between with the driftwood. And I spared you watching me try to measure all that out, but just briefly, what I did, I measured this distance across here, the distance across here, found the midpoint, and put my tape on, and then worked out. This is about 1 inch painter's tape, and I think it would be easier, less taping, if you had a wider tape. But this is what I had on hand, so that was the size, that's going to be the size of my plaid. So I painted that, and then the next thing was to go in the opposite direction. So again, I started my tape here by these, if you can see this little ledge or whatever this is called. I didn't want to end up with my tape having to go around this, so I put my first piece here, and then again used a piece of tape just like this on either end, put one on that end and one on this end, and then stretched my tape across and moved down, and that is how I measured out my distance. So now the next color that I'm going to use is the manatee. And this is the Dixie Belle oval medium, and I wish I had an oval small, but this will work. And now I'm just going to paint in between my painter's tape. And for the first coat, after I did my first set of stripes, I pulled that tape up while my paint was still wet. But now for this coat, I'm going to leave my tape on. Yeah, this brush is a little bit harder than the other one, just because, well, I'm getting it on my edge here, but I can go back and touch that up. And if there's any places that, you know, the paint seeps, you can also touch that up. I should also mention that I went through and burnished this really well, which means just basically I ran my fingers down the edges to try to keep the paint from seeping under the tape. I'm a little neurotic about that because I don't want to have to touch up. So I'm just going to keep going now. This is the Dixie Belle Flat Medium, and I really love this brush. It's one of my favorites. Well, my favorite is the Angled Mini, but when I have to get into smaller spaces, this is my favorite. I taped here because I didn't want to have to go underneath these little pegs. I don't know why buffalo plaid becomes more popular this time of year. Maybe because it's fall and people are using blankets. That's all I can think of. Okay, so now getting my hair in my paint. I'm going to try to dry this just with a blow dryer here. Dixie Belle paint dries pretty fast. So now I'm going to go back to more taping, and I'm going to go back to where my original tape was. So you can I can kind of see the white underneath still. So hopefully this will go faster. I didn't want to have everyone on while I was taping the first couple rounds because I'm so slow. There are people who can just eyeball it, but I think I'm a little bit too OCD for that. But I'll try to make this quick. So like I said, the next color that I'm going to use is Midnight Sky, and Caviar is Dixie Belle's True Black, but I thought thought it might look a little harsh against the white. So I'm gonna go with this Midnight Sky, which is kind of a blue, gray, black. It's one of my favorite colors. I've done several pieces in this color. This is what it looks like in the jar. So I'm just giving my paint a shake. You would want to shake it or stir it before you use it. And yes, the lids can get kind of tight on here. That's why it's a good idea to put it in a paper plate or something else so you're not dragging your brush across it. And just try to get some of this gray off of this brush. And you want your brush damp, but not soaking wet, because your paint will start to bubble if it's too wet. So now I'll paint this direction. And you start with your lightest color because obviously it would be a lot more difficult to try to cover this color with white than to lay this on over the other colors. All right, I'm gonna just pull this tape off because I want to see what it looks like. So there we have it, my first attempt at buffalo plaid, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's definitely a fun pattern and seasonal, and yeah, I have a few touch-ups here, and I might actually go and put a whole row of black across here. But I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, just put a comment in, and if you think this was helpful, I'd love it if you could share it with your fellow painting friends. Hope you have a great afternoon, and I'll see you for sure next Monday at 11. Take care. Bye-bye.